Okay, on this video we want to create the lab, the 2D drawing of Ortho Lab 2. So to start out, I'm going to draw some lines, and I'm going to start at 0, 0. And we'll move that up a little bit. Now I'm going to start, I guess I'll start over in this lower left-hand corner. So I'm going to turn on my ortho and draw a line straight across at 4.75. And I'm going to draw one up at 0.375, which is given right here. Then let's see, I want to go over, well, I don't want to go over. I'm going to stop that, and I'm going to draw another line from, let me change my settings. I don't need quadrant and I don't need perpendicular, but I will go in point center for now. Those are my standards, so I'll go in here and draw a line straight up, 0.375. Then I'm going to go over, and that wants to be 1 inch, and then I need that to go to 1, 1.5, and I need to go over 2.75, and I need to go back down, but what I'll do is, let's see. Yeah, let me throw something. Yeah, we'll just go back down to. Let's see. I'm just going to mirror the easiest way. Just mirror these two objects right here, about the midpoint here, and I've got ortho on, so I'll just click a point. Got that. So let's look at that again. I went 4.75, which was this distance right here. I went up 3/8, which was this distance here on both sides. Then I went over and up. I said I wanted 1 in the X and 1.5 in the Y to get to this point right here. Then it said go 2.75, so since I had ortho on, all I had to do was type in that value, and it went to the right because I had it pointing to the right, and then I mirrored these two to reflect those. And then let's go ahead and draw a line from this endpoint here to that endpoint, and from this endpoint to that endpoint, and that takes care of the two gussets. We can't draw the hidden features yet, so we'll just leave that like it is. So I need to do a save here real quick. And let's see, Ortho Lab 2 video is what I want on this one. Okay, so we're done with that. So we either want to draw the top or the right side. I don't want to draw the right side yet. I'm just going to draw the top, and I need to make that a little bit smaller. If I make it too much smaller, we're not going to be able to read it. So let's make our Cad a little bit smaller. We'll make this a little bigger. Now we need to go a little bit more. See if that's enough yet. Not quite, but that'll be close enough for now. We do need to have the overall here, so we'll keep that up where we can see it. Okay, so we'll go in there and draw that now. So again, I'm going to draw a line straight up. It doesn't much matter how long you make it. And I think this time I'm going to draw a rectangle from this relative 4.75 wide, right, comma 2.375, which is that number right over here on the left. So there's my first shape of that. So we'll move that over. Okay, now it says we need to have this box here in the middle. So I think what I'll do there is I'll draw another box. Now, the only thing bad about that is it does show me that I need to go over 1 inch. So I'm going to say reference from this endpoint. Let's see, I got to get my command back. Reference from the endpoint right here. Relative to that, 1, 0. Okay, there you can see it. Relative to that, 2.75 in the X, comma, what was this number? 2.375. Yeah, 2.375. Let's see, I've got the 2.375. Whoops, fat fingers. And enter. So that creates that box there. Now, the only thing about that is I would be careful. I don't want that whole box, so I'm going to click on that and explode it. And I want to get rid of this line and that line and delete them. Okay, so you know what? Actually, I didn't want to delete that right then. I'm going to undo that, and I'm going to undo the explode. I want to keep that like that just for a minute because I need to have that offset. So I'll offset a distance of 0.25, and I'll offset this right here inside. So that's a lot easier way to do that. Then I don't have to do any trimming. Now I'll explode this one and delete this line and that line. Now I'm good to go there. Of course, I'd hit the save button again. I've saved, done something worth saving. Well, let's see. We can draw these two circles if you want. We could draw the 1.004. So I'll draw a circle, and I want to go reference from the. Where do I want to go from? Well, let's see. Let's say the midpoint of this line relative to that 0 in the X, according to the drawing, 1.1875 in the Y. And that centers that up. Then I can go to the diameter of 1.004. Again, I'll save. Then I'll do another circle. This circle right here is going to be 1.625. I want it at the center. Diameter is 1.625, but that particular one has to be hidden. Now I haven't created any of the layers yet for that, so let's make this smaller again and I can see more of my toolbars, but I don't see that here. So if I hold it there long enough, here's the one you want. It looks just like the one you see in your full screen. Layer Property Manager, I want a new layer, and I want visible. And if we go with the colors from last time, I think we used green. We do want continuous. We want the thickness of that to be 0.7 according to the standard. And that's all we need on that one. So we'll create a new one, and we'll call it hidden. And I don't know, what did we make that? Was it magenta? We don't want continuous, so we need to have load the rest of the lines here. We know we want dash, or excuse me, center line. So if we hold the control key down, we can pick multiple and skip some and get the hidden. Oh, and we yeah, that'll do us. So we'll get hidden 2 on this one. We do want the line weight to be 0.5 instead of 0.7. We want to do another layer called dimensions. And I gotta spell it properly. And I think, what do we use on that? Let's go with yellow. Doesn't much matter. We don't want hidden. We want continuous. And the 0.5 is fine there. That's what you want. Then on the next one, we want the center lines. We can usually, we'll keep all those the same properties, with the exception of the continuous. We want that to be center 2. And we're done with that. Now we do want to put this on the hidden layer. Okay, so we're good there. So let's save. Now if we want to draw these counter bores, what we want to do there is we'll draw a circle, and I need to move this over so we can see it. It looks like from this corner actually it'd be from this midpoint, wouldn't it? We want to go up 1.6875, but first we need to go over 1.875. So we'll go in there and on our circle we'll say at the midpoint here, whoops, sorry, I need to do reference from, sorry about that. Circle, reference from the midpoint, relative to that, minus 1.875, comma 1.6875. The diameter of one needs to be, I think it was 3/8. One of them's 3/8. 0.375. And the other one, which will snap to the center, wants to be D 0.75. Those are both solid, not hidden. Okay, and then we can also draw the rib in there, the gusset, and that's 0.6875. So let's do an offset of 0.6875. This line, whoops, notice that is still one object. We need to break that up, so let's do an explode, and now they're individual. So now we'll do our 0.6875, and we'll pick this line and go up with it. We'll offset again a distance of, I believe it's let's see, 0.25. 0.25, and we'll offset that line up this way, and then we'll trim to this line, both of those. Okay, and of course we'd want to save, and then what we want to do is let's rotate that around. So let's do a polar array, all four of these objects. And the center point is at the center here. We only need two, and that's it. No need to work extra hard to do that. You create it on one side and rotate it around and you'll be fine. You cannot do a mirror because mirror would put this at the top. So you definitely want to do a polar array on that. Okay, from there then, let's see, that view is actually done, isn't it? So we probably hit the save button again. Now we can project those down a little bit now, can't we? So if we do our, let's turn on, we got ortho on, but let's reset our settings here. We'll need, what are we going to need? Quadrant. So we'll turn off the endpoint center, turn on the quadrant, and turn on perpendicular. And we might as well go to the hidden layer, hadn't we? Make that the active layer. Draw a line from this quadrant here, perpendicular, spacebar, here to there, spacebar, and we'll go from here down to there, here. And again, that middle one, we didn't, oops, I missed it. We didn't need this one to be that line type. We needed it to go to the center layer, center line layer. And again, I'm not going to do all those on the other side. We'll just keep it simple and we'll copy them here in a minute. So I'll trim to this line, all of those. Now the drawing here says that the counterbore has a depth of 0.0938. So we're going to go in there and offset 0.0938, this line right here, down. And then I would suggest on fillet radius 0, pick this line and this line, and this line and that line. And then I would trim to this line Trim out both of those pieces, and that's what happens when you do that. I also need to make sure that this gets on the hidden layer. And then I need to extend my center line out, so I'll do a modify lengthen, DE 0.25. So we go there and there. Now, you're not seeing the dash in that center line, so let's go look at changing the line type scale on that. If we click on it, right click, and go to properties. Here's your line type scale. Now it shows that as 1. We originally set this line type scale up as half of what the normal, so it's actually a half, but if we change that again to a half, then it's actually going to be a quarter. So we'll turn that off, hit escape, and now you can see that dash in that center line. So we'll hit save. Now if you want to show that on the other side, again, we'll do like we did in the we have to be careful here now. If we do exactly like what we did before, we'll have a little bit of an issue. If we go from this quadrant to this quadrant, it's going to actually move it down farther. So let's see, can we actually, if we just go, the easiest way to do that, I guess, would be, they're going to be centered on both of these pieces. So if we said, okay, we want to copy everything that's completely in the window, and I'm going to hold the shift key down to move that out and that out. Okay, then we would just be able to, we could just go from the end point here to the end point here. It's a relative move. You've got the same line here as you had over here. So you want it to be centered. It is centered here, and you want it to be centered here, so we just move from one end to the other. We could have just as easily picked this end and moved to this end. So that's the easiest way to get those in. Then I would draw some lines, maybe from here, actually all the way down, and here all the way down, and this is going to construct the counter bore. So on the counter bore it says it needs to have a depth of 0.625, so we'll type in 0.625, take this line and go up. Now we'll put that on the hidden feature layer, and then we'll do a fillet radius 0 here and here, and there and there. That's the counter bore from the bottom side. Now if we want to get the line, the hole, we'd go from the quadrant perpendicular. Now we don't know how deep that is yet, but what we do know is if we go from this end point here, and we need another line, don't we? Well, we'll go ahead and finish these two lines up from this end point here straight down. Now then, to get that depth, we said the depth of that square is actually a ½ inch, so we'll offset 0.5. We'll offset this line down there, and we'll put that on the better click on it first and put that on the hidden layer. And we'll do our fillet radius 0 again, here and here, and here and there. Then we'll trim to this line and that line. That takes care of the rectangular shape. Now we're going to trim to these two, and that's where the hole starts and ends. We ought to draw one more line from the quadrant perpendicular there, but we want to put that line on the center line layer. And of course we want to trim that line out to there. Actually, we don't want to trim it to there, we want to trim it to this one. That's where the this feature up here is not cylindrical, it's square, so we have to stop it right there. We'll do a modify lengthen, delta 0.25, so we just hit enter, there, and there. And that takes care of that. Now, and that view is now done, so we'll hit save. Okay, from there then we need to do the right side view. And that is crosshatch, but that's no big deal. We just have to get our lines in there first. Now if you want to draw a 45-degree line, what you want to do is draw, and we'll just put that on the back on the visible layer. Oh, and none of these are actually on the visible layer, so we've got to do some work here. Let's go in there and let's freeze the center line layer, and we'll freeze the hidden layer. And by the way, you cannot be on whatever layer you're on, you cannot freeze it. So I'm on the visible, and it'll give you that message saying, nope, sorry, you can't do that. So now we've got all those things frozen, so we can pick all of this and put that on the visible layer. So again, it just lets you separate things out by freezing those layers. And now they're back. And more importantly, we've got all the visible stuff on the correct layer. Well, let's see. I probably want to draw a line. Whoops. Let's see. Need to change my settings. I do want endpoint back on. Quadrant would be fine, but I'm not worried about that. Let's just leave it endpoint. So I'll draw a line from this endpoint right here straight out, and let's just make it well, whatever. And I need to draw another line. Now this time I'm going to make it from the intersection of this line and this line right here. So that allows me to and I'll do that again. I can pick multiple lines for an intersection. So if I shift right click, intersection of this line right here, and notice it says extended intersection, and then this line right here. So where those two intersect, it lets me start. Relative to that, let's go 10 angle 45. That ought to be plenty. Then I'll go from this endpoint straight over, and this endpoint straight over. I'll do a fillet radius 0 on these two. And for that matter, you could actually do fillet radius 0 on these two. Wouldn't make any difference, and as long as this doesn't get moved. Then I would go and draw a line straight down and perpendicular, and here and there. And again, you could do fillet radius 0. That'll work. Then I'd draw a line straight across. Okay, and do just a trim on this one now. So that's my basic shape. Now I need to go in there and draw some, actually there'll be solid lines, so I need to draw one from here straight across. We'll just go to the perpendicular there. They don't have to be. It can go anywhere you want. And what I'm going to do next then is draw a line from the, oops, let's see, we don't have quadrant turned on, so we'll just click on this, come straight across, and we'll go quadrant, and we'll go from this endpoint out here, and we'll go quadrant. And to be honest with you, we could actually just go create half of it and mirror the other half, couldn't we? Why don't we do that? So I'll go in there and let's zoom in on that a little bit. Trim to this. We'll trim these three and draw a line straight down. Now that one's going to be perpendicular there. This one's going to be perpendicular all the way down. This one's going to be perpendicular to there. So let's see. And let's do some fillet radius 0s here and there. Here and there. So it's starting to come together, and we'll trim to that line out, and we'll trim to this line, and that line, and that line for that matter. Of course, we'd want to hit save. and maybe do a mirror now, and we just want to mirror this, this, and that. Don't get these lines or you have doubles. And we want to mirror about the midpoint here, straight down, boom. Then we're going to do a fillet radius 0 between this and this, and this and that, because we didn't know if they were the right length or not. And we're still at one line here, one line there. And then, as I showed you in class the other day, possibly, I don't know, maybe I didn't, but I'm going to hit save first. Crosshatch pattern is in the draw, and there's our crosshatch. Now it'll come up. Here's your different patterns and such you can put in there, so you can do different. And this will look. I'm going to explode this out here, make it a little bigger. Let's see. So you can do solid, you can do angled. ANSI 31 is a generic mechanical properties type crosshatch pattern, but note there are other patterns out there that you can use, so we can scroll through them. And I think if we hit, there you go. So we can see different ones. Some of them will be concrete, bricks, sand. I mean, there's all kinds of different stuff. There's a parquet floor and these are mostly for construction type things. I think there was a brass, maybe. Yeah, there's brass. And different types of patterns there. A hexagon, if you had some kind of a metal, there's a grating. So, but again, typically we use the ANSI 31, ANSI 31. Okay, and note when you put this in, it's at 45 degrees. If you change the angle here, this will change the angle from 45. Let's say if you put in 15, it would now be a 60-degree angle. This sets up the spacing, and it's just a scale factor. And I'll show you that here in a second after I get it put in. We can realize we can edit that to whatever our needs are. Now you can pick points, but normally we just pick the boundaries, and we can just hit that select is going to take care of that for us. It is associative, so if this changes, it'll all change. So notice it grabs whatever region, if you will, that you pick. So I'll pick this one and close the hatch creation block. Now that's nothing like what it shows in your drawing, but if I double click it, note we can make changes now. I can change this up here, and maybe I want that to be minus 15. Okay, that's not quite really what we want, but let's double click that, and let's see, what would that be? I'm thinking that's going to be 135. Nope. Oh, that is duh. That's 45 plus 90 would be that, wouldn't it? So maybe it's going to be 90. There you go. It's 45 plus 45. Let's see. And then the spacing, if we change that, let's say we changed it to 2. You can see it's twice as big as it was before. Or if we made it 0.5, it's even smaller. Okay, so that would be too busy there. We don't want it to be like that. I think the 1 was probably the best selection there. So that's what you can do with the crosshatch pattern. Now we're left with we need a center line over here. Oh, and let's see, we can probably get rid of some of these. It looks like we can get rid of all of them at this point. Okay, so again, if I want to do a center line, rather than creating a new center line, I'm just going to copy this center line. How about from the midpoint of this to the midpoint of this? And that looks just fine. Again, the bottom part and this piece right here are cylindrical, so that's where your center line has to go. Doesn't go through the top. So I hit the save button. And I guess that's it for all the different features of this piece. So that's how you would create these.